Hi, I'm Doug Austin, and I'm the editor of eDiscovery Today. I'm excited to be presenting the topic Practical Applications of eDiscovery Rules for ACEDS tomorrow, December 14th at 1 p.m. Eastern, which will be available on demand afterwards. I'm going to be discussing several eDiscovery rules and identify case examples, some of which are very high profile and even ripped from the headlines that illustrate the importance of these rules. Here's one practical example I'll be discussing tomorrow. So here is Rule 26b1 and the 6 proportionality factors. What's proportional in each case varies widely depending on the case. For example, proportionality for a slip and fall case would be considerably lower than for a class action involving hundreds of plaintiffs. These 6 proportionality factors replace the previous evidentiary standard of reasonably calculated to lead to the discovery of admissible evidence, which is no longer in the rules, though it's still used a lot. The 6th factor, whether the burden or expense of the proposed discovery outweighs its likely benefit, is one we'll drill into with some search terms discussion. So here's a case from my home state of Texas where the parties negotiated search terms. 2 of the terms are the ones you see here. The exclamation symbol is the wildcard character in the case, and the /10 means within 10 words of. So clearly it looked like the parties chose to add a wildcard to app to search for app, apps, application, or applications. Makes sense, right? However, there are more words in the English language that begin with app. How many are there? There's this many, and this many, and this many. 308 words at least beginning with app. 304 of them are bad. Apparently, it appears the application of the wildcard was appealing when it wasn't approximate or even appropriate. It was appalling. See what I did there? This is known as getting wild with wildcards, and it's one of the most common searching mistakes I see legal professionals make. A much better search would have been to break out the individual terms with or separators to be much more precise, as you see in the example here. Keep in mind the parties negotiated this awfully overbroad term, so neither of them realized just how bad a search term it was. Fortunately for the defendants, Judge Andrew Austin, no relation, ruled that the defendants weren't required to produce everything responsive to the search results like the plaintiff wanted. They still had the right to review them for responsiveness, but they had to review a lot of extra documents they wouldn't have had to review, which was punishment enough. By the way, this doesn't mean that you should never use wildcard terms. It just means that you should know what to expect when you do use them. Here's a site called More Words. It's used by Scrabble and Words with Friends players. As you can see here, you can do starts with and ends with searches to see what a wildcard might retrieve and avoid using those wildcards that are over-inclusive or under-inclusive. I provided links to examples for a starts with and an ends with search where all you would have to do is to substitute in the string you want to look for. A very simple web search that would have probably taken 20 seconds to type out could have saved hours and hours of effort in the bank pass case. So that gives you a taste of what I'll be talking about tomorrow, December 14th at 1 p.m. Eastern in the ACEDS Webinar Practical Applications of eDiscovery Rules. And here's the full set of topics and rules I'll be discussing. If you missed it live, you can still catch it on demand. Regardless, whether live or on demand, just look for a link to it on eDiscovery Today's event calendar on December 14th. Thanks, and hope to see you there.